left front of Alex Zanardi's car. I think a lucky break for the Italian, I'd say, that situation.
Yes, it doesn't look as though it's bent anything. Meanwhile, Mark Blundell there in the Motorola car still leads this race, although he might not be at the head of this queue. Don't worry about that. There are other lapped cars at the front of the queue behind the pace car, but Blundell is the race leader. Second position is Zanardi, and you can see there's several cars between them, and that will help Blundell's cause when this gets going once again. Andretti third, Ribeiro in fourth place. You can just see them at the top of the picture, and behind them Scott Pruitt in fifth. Guterman's moved up to sixth, so Guterman's gained quite a lot from that last round of pit stops actually. He was running down just outside the top 10 most of the time, but he's gained a bit there. Bozell seventh, Ray Hall has dropped again. He's down to eighth place now. Remember, he was running third in the early stages of this race. Behind him is Jimmy Vasser in ninth. Paul Tracy stayed in 10th all day. It doesn't seem to make much difference whether he makes pit stops, doesn't make pit stops, or do whatever. He seems to have been holding on to 10th just about all day here. And behind him is Christian Fittipaldi, Parker Johnston, Michel Jourdain and Adrian Fernandez. We just heard reports on the radio to the Mark Blundell from the Pac West team. They're just warning him about the cold tyres that he'll be on. And you can also see down there's some bit of track cleaning going on as well. They're just trying to get rid of some of these marbles. And you can just see how much these softer tyres that have been brought to the Toronto circuit by both Goodyear and Firestone have been disintegrating gradually as we've gone through this race.
Yes, look at all that stuff there. There goes the Toronto Metro City sweeper to try and get rid of some of that stuff, but it's a losing battle really. And another 2 or 3 laps after they go green, there'll be quite a few marbles, as they call them, back out there. So I don't think it'll make a lot of difference, but at least make an effort to try and clean up the track a little bit. Yes,
that's right. Well, the pace car leads them round. Mark Blundell is now within some 21 laps of taking his second win of the season. Yellow flag still being waved at the moment, but we think they'll be going green fairly soon. There's Michael Andretti, Andre Ribeiro. Watch out for their progress as we get green flag racing. Then there's a bit of a gap back. Next one actually on the lap is Scott Pruitt, and he's quite a long way back. A lot of cars between the back of Andre Ribeiro's car. And we should hopefully get a chance to hear from Greg Moore. Let's hear from Greg Moore in the pits.
Well, not at all. I mean, anytime you end up in the fence during a race where you're doing not too badly, it's just, it's frustrating, that's for sure.
Do some play-by-play of it. What happened?
Zanardi was coming out of the pits on really cold tires, and I had the racing line. I went into turn 1. He tried to go in just as deep as I did, and he was on cold tires, and his left front hit my right rear tire, put me up into the wall, and the race was over. It's just a stupid incident.
Frustrating because you were scrapping all weekend. You didn't qualify that well, at least early in the weekend, but you came back and you really were in a position to do something here.
Yeah, we were in a position to finish in the top 5 again. I don't think we had a first place car, but it's just unfortunate that a stupid incident like this happens.
I know your fans feel as bad as you do. Thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
Yes, disappointment for the Canadians here this weekend. They see their top man now, Paul Tracy, down in 10th place. And interesting to hear from the radio of the Newman Haas crew that Michael Andretti's been told don't worry about saving fuel anymore. And in fact, I think most of the guys will be hearing that now, because this yellow flag period, the fueling already done recently. There's another look at that incident between Greg Moore and Zanardi. Just Zanardi letting it run a little bit too wide, and as Greg Moore said, perhaps Zanardi tried to go in a bit quick. He was almost the car had to run wide because he tried to go in there quick, and there was inevitable contact.
Yeah, I think Greg Moore was running as wide as he could through that corner. You could see there, if you look closely, as the cars are coming out of the corner, Greg Moore was definitely off to the left of the preferred line there, and any farther out and he'd have hit the wall on his own.
Yeah.
So not left any room at all there by Alex Zanardi.
Yeah, so I think a few words between Greg Moore and Alex Zanardi at the end of this race, but Zanardi has survived. He still runs in second position, remember, and he's Mark Blundell's main threat as we go through the rest of this race. But as I say, interesting to see. All of those drivers will be told they can whack up to full rich on the mixture. That means that they'll get full power from their engines for the last part of this race. Some 20 laps to go, and that'll be flat out racing. But with some back markers in there as well, it could make life very, very exciting in the closing stages of this round 12 of the PPG Kart World Series. To see Zanardi sliding the car a little bit through the corners, trying to keep a little bit of heat in the rear tyres as they tour around fairly slowly behind the pace car. And these tyres really do cool down a great deal. It makes life difficult on the restart, and there's a lot of skill involved, and Andretti's one of the top guys, it has to be said, for going quickly on cold tyres. And you watch out for him once this does go green again. We can see the track cleaner just coming past our commentary box at the moment. That's coming out of turn 11, doing a bit of sweeping.
That's right, and they've also waved those cars that between the pace car and the race leader. They have waved past the pace car. They will now run around to pick up position at the back of the pack. So when we do go green, which I would anticipate probably in a lap or two, then the race leader will be at the front of the pack. That, of course, is Mark Blundell, and right behind him, Alex Zanardi. Then there's a couple of lap cars. Actually, they're both
no damage done in that situation, guys.
All-American Racers cars. I tell lies. It's Christian Fittipaldi who's right behind the race leader.
The we saw earlier, Alex Zanardi is about to go into part 2 here any moment.
So just a little bit of news from the pit lane there, and we can just hopefully, I can see the kart safety team still doing a bit of clearing up just out of turn 11 here at the moment. They're just blowing the track to try and clean it up somewhat. And there you are, there's the sweeper trying to get all these rubber bits out of the way, and that will hopefully open up the line for a bit more overtaking once the green flag waves.
Yeah, sorry about that, talking over the top there. I was concentrating on who that was, who was actually right behind Mark Blundell. He's in fact Christian Fittipaldi's car. And Christian, of course, is a lap down to the leaders, but there's his car, and then behind him the two All-American Racers cars of P.J. Jones and Juan Fangio. Then it's Alex Zanardi and Michael Andretti and Andre Ribeiro. That, of course, is the battle for second place. So Mark Blundell here will have a nice little cushion of 3 cars, and he'll be he'll find that very welcoming indeed. I know he won't have to push quite so hard. He won't have to worry, at least for a few laps, until Zanardi can get past those other guys, and maybe Mark can make a little bit of a break here and make full use of that.
Yes, and he won't, as you say, he won't have to worry so much about being on cold tyres. He doesn't need to be a real hero, does he, on the first lap? He can allow the tyres to build up temperature on the opening lap, and then he can really go for it and try and pull away. In the meantime, Zanardi will still be trying to find a way past those slower cars. So it does set things up well for Mark Blundell here, but it's still a tough situation. Leading any race is a tough situation, but he's been in control all the way from the start of this race, the start that saw the incident between Dario Franchitti and Bobby Rahal. Franchitti started from pole position, remember. Rahal tried to squeeze down the inside of him into turn 1. It ended in contact. Franchitti spinning in front of everybody. Rahal also slowed a little bit, but not too much, and Fittipaldi getting caught out in that. Franchitti tried to fight his way back up through the field, but at the end of the day went off just after turn 3. So disappointment for Franchitti, but for Mark Blundell, who joined him on the front row after qualifying second fastest yesterday, things going absolutely perfectly so far. And he's just got to hope that it will go just as well for the remaining 18 laps. The sweeper is just going through this section of track that they're coming into now, turns 1 and 2, and we've been told it's going to be pulling off after that. Don't worry, that's not Mark, that's one of his crew members. In fact, that's yes, that's the dummy that they've got. So it's I've seen that around. It's a dummy that they've sort of put out. I don't quite know why. It's for the sponsors, I think, for Motorola that they use this thing. It got stolen, I remember, on one of the races. Somebody actually disappeared with it. It was in the trunk of a car. The car got stolen and they lost their dummy. But never mind. That it has been recovered. Michael Andretti's been complaining over the radio. He wants to know when they're going green. He's getting bored of sitting down there. He wants to know when this race is going to get underway, because he doesn't want too many laps behind the pace car. He needs all those laps to try and catch up to race leader Mark Blundell, and that's the opportunity he wants.
It is indeed, particularly with those slower cars in front of Alex Zanardi. I think Alex Zanardi better watch his mirrors pretty closely going down there into turn 1. The Toyotas, of course, don't have the horsepower of the Honda engine or the Ford that Alex Zanardi and Michael Andretti respectively have aboard their cars, and Michael Andretti is going to try and make a really good exit out of turn 11 right in front of us, and he's going to try and make a pass at the end of the front stretch, and if he can't make a pass down there, he's going to try and do it in turn 3. So Alex Zanardi is the one who's really got his hands full, I'd say, the next lap or two.
Well, here we go, Jeremy. We're about to get the green flag coming out again. So Mark Blundell has got 18 laps to go here to the checkered flag, and he's got to try and keep control of all this with Zanardi, Andretti, Ribeiro all chasing. Out of the last couple of corners, Mark Blundell leads them through. He can be a bit cautious on the power coming out of here and not worry too much about the guys behind him, because it's Christian Fittipaldi who is been lapped already, so he's not going to worry too much about Fittipaldi. Watch out for Zanardi. Zanardi already getting past one of those slower cars. Michael Andretti will be looking to do the same as they come out of turn number 1. Blundell goes through, then the slower car, Zanardi, then Andretti just tucked in behind the other of the Toyota powered machines. There goes Andretti as Fittipaldi stays right behind Blundell. Mark Blundell says, oi, no, you don't dare come down the inside of me. I'm staying up front. And of course, for Fittipaldi, it's still within his interest to try and get back onto the lead lap, get past Blundell.
Apart from anything else, it gets him back on the lead lap, and then of course it might help Michael Andretti. If he can get past Alex Zanardi, maybe Christian can play his part in this as well, as he's trying to make a position up for himself, get him back onto the lead lap. He's running 11th at the moment, as we're on board there with Andre Ribeiro, and Michael Andretti right ahead of Ribeiro, and Michael Andretti's still stuck behind that Toyota car. That certainly is a surprise to me. Michael Andretti's car is sliding around a lot. Goodyear tires perhaps just not coming in quite so well as the Firestones conceivably.
Yes, good point, Jeremy. The Goodyear tyre perhaps needing a few more laps to get more heat into the tyre before it's fully up to working temperature. Look at this, Ribeiro's taking advantage of that to get down the inside, and Andretti could do nothing about it. Great racing, and the Brazilian Andre Ribeiro goes up into third position. He goes chasing after Alex Zanardi, and it is 3 Firestone cars up front now, with Blundell leading. Zanardi now right behind Fittipaldi. There's Fittipaldi in the Budweiser car, then it's Alex Zanardi in the Target machine right behind him. But remember, it's Zanardi who's actually in second place, and he's got to find a way past the lapped car of Christian Fittipaldi.
Mark Blundell still in a great position here. That lap car between himself, a little bit of a buffer between himself and that charging Italian. Great news for Mark Blundell. He thinks, he reckons he's got a good advantage over Christian Fittipaldi. He just can play it cool, not push too hard too soon here, maintain just enough of an edge that Christian Fittipaldi doesn't get a sniff of getting past him. He'll be in great shape.
He will indeed, and Fittipaldi running very quick lap times now as he comes across the line in 11th place. Blundell just that slight advantage, 1.4 seconds the gap to Zanardi.